People sometimes ask if a cult lured the Jamison family into the mountains. This is a theory that came up. It's a dark idea. It suggests something really sinister happened. It's often called the witchcraft theory. People talk about it because the case is so strange. It has many confusing parts. There are no easy answers for what happened to the Jamisons. That's why people look for other explanations. The Jamison family lived in Eufaula, Oklahoma. There was Bobby Jamison, he was the father. There was Sherilynn Jamison, she was the mother. And there was their daughter Madyson, she was 6 years old. They seemed like a normal family. They had a home, they had a truck, but things were not always easy for them. Bobby had back problems. He couldn't work much. He got disability payments. So Sherilynn worked at a local church. She was a receptionist. Money was tight sometimes. In October 2009, the family disappeared. This was a Friday, October 9th. They packed up their truck. It was a white Ford F-150. They took their dog, a black and white pit bull mix named Maisie. They told people they were going to look at a property. It was a 40-acre plot. It was in Latimer County. This is a rural, mountainous area. It's about a 30-minute drive from where they lived. They were thinking about buying the land. It seemed like a normal trip, but it wasn't normal. They never came back. Days went by. No one heard from them. Friends and family got worried. They called the police. A search started. People looked for the white truck. They looked in the mountain. This area is very remote. It has dense woods. It has many dirt roads. It's easy to get lost there. The search went on for a few days. Then, on October 17th, someone found the truck. It was on a dirt road. It was about 8 miles south of the town of Robbers Cave State Park. The truck was locked. Everything was still inside. This was very strange. Inside the truck, police found many things. They found Sherilynn's purse. Her wallet was there, had her driver's license and credit cards. Bobby's wallet was there too. His driver's license was in it. His cell phone was also there. Sherilynn's cell phone was inside the truck too. All their phones were off. There was also a large amount of cash. It was in a white envelope. The amount was $32,000. This was a lot of money for the Jamisons. It raised many questions. Why did they have so much cash? Were they planning to buy the land with cash, or was it for something else? No one knew. Police found some other things. They found a black bag. Inside it was a Satanic Bible. They found a DVD. It was an adult film. There were also empty alcoholic beverage containers. There were also coats and shoes. It looked like they just left the truck and walked away. The dog, Maisie, was found too. She was in the truck. She was very weak. She was nearly starved. She had been without food and water for days. This was another strange part. Why would they leave their dog in the truck? Why wouldn't they take her with them? It didn't make sense. The truck was locked. It was parked neatly. It was not hidden. It was like they stopped for a break. Then they just walked into the woods. And they never came back. The keys were not in the truck. They were not found near the truck either. The property they were supposed to look at was not far. It was only a short distance from where the truck was found. But they never made it to the property, or if they did, they left it. For years, there was no sign of the family. The truck was there. The dog was there. The money was there. But no Bobby, Sherilynn, or Madyson. It was a complete mystery. The search continued off and on for years. Police used dogs. They used helicopters, they used volunteers, they searched miles of rugged terrain. But they found nothing. People started to talk. They made up their own ideas. Was it a drug deal gone bad? Bobby's father, Bob Jamison, was known to be involved in drugs. He had a past. Maybe Bobby was involved too, maybe he got the cash from his dad. Maybe they met someone for a deal, and it went wrong. This was one theory. Another idea was murder-suicide. Maybe one of the parents killed the others, then they killed themselves, but there was no evidence for this. No weapon was found, no note was left, and if someone did it, where were the bodies? Some thought they just walked away. They wanted to start a new life, but why leave their dog? Why leave all their money and phones? Why leave their truck? It didn't seem likely. Then there was the strange behavior of Bobby and Sherilynn. Before they disappeared, people noticed things. Bobby was acting different. He seemed withdrawn, he lost a lot of weight, he sometimes talked about demons. He said there were demons in their house. He said they were watching him. Sherilynn also seemed scared. She was worried about Bobby, she thought he was depressed, she told people he was not well. She wrote a letter to a friend. It was found later. In the letter, she talked about abuse. She said Bobby was abusive. She said he was a danger to their daughter. But the letter was also confusing. It didn't give clear answers. Bobby's family said he was battling mental illness. They said he suffered from depression. His brother, Bob Jr., even said Bobby was schizophrenic. This could explain the talk about demons. It could explain his changed behavior. Now, This is where the witchcraft theory comes in. The family's strange behavior, Bobby's talk of demons, the Satanic Bible in the truck, the large amount of cash, the remote location. All these things started to link together in people's minds. The theory suggests that Jamison's got involved with a cult. Maybe a satanic cult, or some other dark group. Bobby's talk of demons could be real to him. Maybe the cult preyed on his vulnerable state. Maybe they promised him something. They lured him in. And Sherilynn and Madyson were just caught up in it. The $32,000 cash could be part of a payment. Maybe to join the cult, or to buy something from them. Or maybe it was a payment they received. A payment for some service. Or a payment they were going to make for the land, but the cult intervened. People thought the cult might use the money for their own rituals. The Satanic Bible in the truck was a big piece of this theory. Why would they have it? Were they studying it? Were they members of a group that used it? Or was it just a prop? A red herring? This book, the Satanic Bible, is not about worshiping the devil in a traditional sense. It's more about self-worship and individualism. But for many, it still connects to dark cults. It feeds the idea of something sinister. The idea is that a cult met them at the property. Or maybe they were driving to meet the cult. The cult took them. They did something to them. Maybe they killed them as part of a ritual, and then they hid the bodies. The remote area would be perfect for this. It's easy to hide things there. People who believe this theory point to the complete lack of other evidence. No struggle at the truck. No signs of a fight. No blood. The family just vanished. This makes it seem like they went willingly, or they were tricked. A cult could do that. They could be very persuasive. The fact that the bodies were missing for so long also adds to the cult theory. If it was a regular murder, the bodies usually turn up faster, but if a cult was trying to hide evidence, they would go to great lengths. They would use remote places, they would make sure the bodies were never found, and then, after 4 years, the bodies were found. It was November 16th, 2013. A couple of deer hunters were in the area. They were near the truck's location. It was only about 3 miles away. They found 3 skeletons. They were in a remote, steep part of the woods. The medical examiner confirmed they were Bobby, Sherilynn, and Madyson. The bodies were badly decomposed. They were just bones. There was no clear cause of death. The medical examiner couldn't find any bullet holes. No stab wounds. No broken bones that showed a struggle. This was another twist. It didn't solve anything, it made it even stranger. The bodies were found close together. They were lying side by side. It looked like they just lay down and died. But why? In that remote place, why would they walk 3 miles into the woods? Without their dog, without their phones, without the money. This discovery still didn't rule out the cult theory. Some people still believed it. Maybe the cult killed them, and then left their bodies in a way that wouldn't show obvious signs of foul play. Maybe they forced them to walk, or maybe they left them to die. Hypothermia or starvation in the remote wilderness. This would not leave obvious marks on bones. The remoteness of the area is key for this theory. Latimer County is known for its rugged landscape. It's a place where people can disappear. There are rumors of strange groups in these parts. Groups that like to be left alone. Groups that practice unusual beliefs. This kind of talk fuels the cult idea. But there are also many arguments against the witchcraft theory. For one, there is no real evidence of a cult. No one ever came forward. No other cases linked to a similar cult in the area. It's all speculation. It's based on very weak connections. Bobby's talk of demons can be explained by his mental state. His family said he was mentally ill, he was depressed, he might have been schizophrenic. People with these conditions can have delusions, they can hallucinate, they can believe things that are not real. The demons could have been a symptom of his illness, not a real external threat from a cult. The Satanic Bible is also not strong evidence. Many people own such books. They might be curious, they might be interested in the philosophy. It doesn't mean they are part of a cult. It could have been bought years ago. It could have been left in the truck. It might have had nothing to do with their disappearance. The money also has other explanations. Bobby's father, Bob Jamison, was a known drug dealer. It's possible the money was from a drug deal, or it was meant for a drug deal. Bobby might have been involved in his father's business. Even if he wasn't, the money could have come from his father as a gift. Or a loan. This could lead to a different kind of danger, a drug-related crime, not a cult. The bodies showing no signs of trauma also hurts the cult theory. If a cult murdered them, you might expect some kind of violence, but the bodies were found lying there. It looked like they just succumbed to the elements, or died from some illness. The medical examiner determined the cause of death as undetermined. This means they couldn't say for sure how the Jamisons died. But they did not find any evidence of foul play. No bullet wounds. No broken bones from a struggle. This makes it harder to say a cult murdered them. It makes it more likely they died from exposure or some other natural event. What about the strange video found at their house? It was security camera footage. It showed Bobby and Sherilynn. They were packing their truck, they were moving things. It looked very odd. Sherilynn was putting things in the truck, then she would take them out. She would throw them on the ground. Bobby was just standing there, he was not helping. He was not talking, he just watched her. His face looked blank. This video also supports the idea of mental distress. Not necessarily cult activity. It shows a family in turmoil. A family acting strangely. The police investigated many angles. They considered all the theories. They interviewed many people. Bobby's family, Sherilynn's family, friends, neighbors. They looked into the drug connections. They looked into the mental health issues. They also looked into the cult angle. But they never found any concrete evidence. Nothing that pointed directly to a cult. The policemen really focused on the drug angle. They thought that $32,000 cash was a key clue. Maybe they were going to buy drugs or sell them, and something went wrong. This is a common occurrence in rural areas. Drug deals can lead to violence. Some people also wonder if they died by accident. Maybe they went for a walk. They got lost, they got disoriented. Bobby's mental state could have played a role. Maybe he led them into the woods, and they just couldn't find their way back. They succumbed to hypothermia or dehydration. It was October. Nights can be cold in the mountains. The area where they were found is tough terrain. It's easy to get lost there. Even for experienced hikers, if they were not used to it, they could quickly be in trouble. Madyson was only 6 years old. She would have struggled. This is a simpler explanation. It doesn't need a cult. It doesn't need a murderer. But the mystery still remains. Why did they leave their truck locked? Why did they leave their dog? Why did they leave the money and phones? These actions are hard to explain by just getting lost. It seems like they meant to come back, or they were forced to leave. So, did a cult lure the Jamison family into the mountains? It's a theory that many people consider. It's a compelling story. It ties together some of the strangest elements of the case. Bobby's talk of demons, the Satanic Bible, the large cash sum, the remote setting. It offers a dramatic explanation for a truly baffling disappearance, but there is no solid proof. No witness ever said they saw the Jamisons with cult members. No cult was ever identified. The evidence linking them to a cult is circumstantial. It can also be explained by other things: mental illness, drug dealings, or just a tragic accident. The police have not closed the case. It is still an open investigation. They haven't ruled anything out completely, but they have also not found anything that strongly supports the cult theory. They continue to look for answers. The Jamison case remains one of the most frustrating mysteries. People want to know what happened. They want a clear answer. When there isn't one, people often turn to more unusual ideas. The witchcraft theory is one of those ideas. It tries to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. It gives a name to the unseen danger. It's important to look at all sides, to consider the facts, to not get carried away by sensational ideas. The Jamisons went into the mountains that day, and they never came back alive. Their bodies were found years later, but the question of how they died and why is still not answered. The cult theory offers a dark explanation, but it needs more than just a few strange details to be true. It needs actual evidence, and that evidence has never been found.